Slayers, and welcome to the Smile Kitchen. I'm Smiles, and thank you so much for joining me for a very special Chivalry 2 video where we sat down with Shy, co-owner of the Unyielding Discord server and Duel Yard manager, to discuss the recent popularity of the Duel Yard and our first major tournament event on August 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern. That'll be broadcast and posted to the links in my comment below if you want to see that for yourself. The Unyielding was founded by Chivalry 2 content creator Shawnee Salami, who also sat down with Shy to discuss the game itself, so be sure to check out that video, also linked in my comments below after this one. And without further ado, Shy, how you doing, man?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Great, man. Thanks so much for coming by and taking the time with us. So I want to start with a little bit of history. How was it that you found the Unyielding server in the first place?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a relatively newer slasher player. Chivalry 2 is my first slasher, and I've only been playing since August of 23. I started on Xbox, and I played for about a year, on and off, and I was primarily playing survival games like Ark, DayZ, and Rust, and I just kind of, I hit a point where, I was getting burnt out with like the huge time sink, and I needed a new one. So, I started maining Shiv. I swapped from Xbox to PC, and because I was already a high level on Xbox, I was kind of like a sleeper level 1, and people picked up on the fact that like I was pulling up on lobbies as a level 1, and they didn't know who I was. My character looked different, and I was using the Highland sword, and so anytime people saw me, I was always using the Highland sword, and I was dominating team objective lobbies. And so I started talking with people in game chat, and I became friends with the Sirs, the clan Sirs, and they invited me to their Discord. This was my first Chivalry Discord, and I would frequent it, and I would talk in their general chat from time to time. And as a couple of months passed by, I started seeing more familiar faces in their Discord from team objective matches, and eventually I got a DM from someone named Shawnee Salami. He was like, "Hey man, I recognize you from team objective, and you're crazy with the Highland sword." He was like, "Yeah, I got a pretty big community if you ever want to slide up," and yada yada yada. And he told me about his YouTube, and so I checked his content out, and I was actually kind of interested at that point in taking up content creation for myself. So I consulted Shawnee about possibly giving me ideas like startup stuff for starting a YouTube channel and just really any type of insight. And he was a really cool dude. I mean, he genuinely sat there and had a multiple hour conversation with me, who was pretty much at this point a complete stranger, and he just helped me out, and it was cool. So I slid up to his Discord, and yeah, and the rest is history. I had no idea who Shawnee Salami was. He was some random dude with a cute bio picture. He had his dog, and he looked like a happy dude, bro. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna slide up and see what this dude's talking about.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's what won a lot of us over. So, can you tell us, what was your time like in the Unyielding before becoming a partner?
Yeah, it was it was interesting. It was great, and it really. It's just funny thinking about it because, my time preceding the Unyielding, one of the ways that I enjoyed playing the game was kind of being a troll with people, and I'm not super toxic or anything, but I like to do silly stuff like go into a dueling ring with someone and wave at them and not flourish my weapon until they wave back and make them crash out and just do goofy stuff like that. And so that was one of my favorite ways to play Shiv, and so when I first joined the Unyielding, I kind of still had that same mentality, and I kind of played with the Unyielding like how I do people in the Duel Yard, and so I was a little bit of a troll, and I made some waves when when I first joined the Unyielding, and I don't know that everybody was super crazy about me because I make a lot of goofy jokes, and I like to troll people, and just for the sake of banner, because it's a fighting game, and we're all we're able, if you don't like the things that I'm saying, the jokes that I'm making, we can hop in the Duel Yard, we can handle up on it, brother. And so So, so it's like with that in mind, like I'm never like super toxic. I don't say like things that to hurt people, I just like to say stuff to ruffle people's feathers. And so that I had that mentality when I first joined the Unyielding. And but despite that, and despite whatever, little petty arguments that I may have contributed to or outright been the cause of, they always treated me well, and they never banned me, and they never made me feel like an outsider. They might get a little bit mad at me at first, because they were getting used to the way that I am, but they were all great, and they took it like champs. And so yeah, before I became a mod, it was a little bit turbulent, but it was all in good fun. And but I think ultimately it was a good growing experience for all of us, because they kind of learned how to deal with someone like me. And it kind of made me realize, like, well, maybe I'm being a little bit too much of a troll on Discord. Maybe I'll just keep it to game chat.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Trash talk is a lot of fun for me, especially when you keep it sporting. And I've always respected that you recognize that whatever the reason for the beef, we're only interacting at all through the game. So why not just settle it all in game?
Literally, what am I gonna tell somebody that gets mad at me on Discord? Like, oh, I'm gonna fly to Philadelphia and fuck you up, bro. You know what I mean? Like, what? It's like, and even then, it's like on the other end of the screen, like I might be talking shit to you, but and I might be like Mr. Billy Badass, drama farmer, but like on the other end of my computer, on the other end of my monitor, I'm just laughing and like talking with my girl. You know what I mean? So it's all just lighthearted, and like you said, at the end of the day, it's all pixels. And as long as you're not like being racist or like trying to tear somebody down fundamentally, like for your humor, then yeah, I mean whatever. I mean yeah, be a troll. Like I'm a Doomhand fan. I want to go ahead and say it. I'm sorry if Shani Salami hears this. I'm sorry, brother. But yeah, I'm a huge Doomhand fan, man, because that is the entirety of that dude's existence in Chivalry 2 is being a troll. The first thing he does when he joins a match is says, "Hey, how do I play?" And then you look at the leaderboard and it's this level 1000 dude that's got freaking 30 kills in 10 seconds. You know what I mean? And so I just like appreciate like his person, like sticking to the bit. We're all playing a character. We're playing a war game. Like I'm the evil general on the other side, and I'm gonna ruffle your feathers, and I'm gonna compose myself like a villain from like a Star Wars movie. I'm Darth Maul. I'm Darth Maul when I'm playing Chivalry, basically.
Yeah, the fury, we see it. So have you ever run any duel yards or servers for other games before?
Yeah, absolutely not. This is completely new to me. I've never been in an admin role before, and circling back to what I said earlier about my gaming history and coming from survival games, Ark in particular, for anybody that's played that game knows that there's a high degree of social hierarchies within the game, not just Discord, but like within the game itself, because the people with the power, that's just how the game runs. Like they will pull up on you, they'll take your loot, and there's not really much you can do about it. So I've always enjoyed those games, and I play a lot of video games, and so I have a pretty good crew of people that I run with on small tribes on Ark, and it seems like every time that we play, we end up dominating the server that we live on, and we sink our talons in pretty deep, and it's almost like it feels the same as like I'm trying to draw a parallel between being an admin on Discord and being the alpha on a Ark server, because there is a degree of administrative like values there and disciplines with how you have to maintain your diplomacy, who you want to be seen as a person, and so yeah, I don't really have any direct like admin experience, but through my time on Ark, I do feel like I developed certain parts of my personality that made me prepared for it, though.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. Those games are gnarly as hell and super political when you get down to it. So, was running like something like this always like a dream or an idea you had, or how did this come about?
Yeah, so the answer to that question, so I'm a team objective player. Like through and through, and even though like I run the duel yard, like I am still a team objective player. That's my favorite way to play Chivalry 2. I have over 2,000 hours exclusively in team objective, and that's how I enjoy playing the game. And so I think overall I have about 3,000 hours. And so like I'm not gonna sit and try to pretend like I'm the best Chiv player. I'm not, but Am I a little bit above average? Absolutely. And so when I play pub TOs, you know, I'm more often than not always on top of the board, at the very top and first. And so and I'm not trying to sound conceited or arrogant by saying this, but you know, like I do specifically get called out directly by a lot of newer players that are looking for help. And so, you know, I play a lot of shit, you know, and sometimes I do get a little bored with TO. So, you know, if somebody asks me for help and they hit me up or they recognize me on Discord and they hit me up, I'll be like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, slide up and meet me in the duel yard. And so you know, I'll show you some mechanics, I'll help you out, maybe show you a couple of moves and some tech, and we'll get you set up. You know, we'll turn you into a warrior. So I would find noobs to that wanted my help, and I would direct them to certain duel yards, like 300 mage chivalry hitters, and there was always three constants on every single type of server that I played on, every single community server: RDMers, cheaters, and admin abusers. And I think that anybody that has played in any duel yard outside of the Unyielding can attest to the fact that all three of those things have been somewhat just outright accepted amongst those communities. And like, maybe not the cheat. Yeah, for sure. They just shrug it off, or they'll act, you know, they'll either shrug it off, or they'll encourage and allow their friends to get away with it. They'll ban certain people for breaking certain types of rules, but then when their friends do it, it's all laughs and giggles. And and pretty much anyone that has played in a duel yard, a community duel yard, can probably attest to that. You know, there's a reason that they all have come and gone. There's a reason that they've all imploded on themselves, and it's because of bad practices and bad standards. And so I never intended on running a duel yard. I never set out to be the duel yard guy. That was never my intention with this. And so eventually I got tired of admin abuse. I got tired of RDM. I got tired of just all that. And I wanted a place to train my newer chivalry friends and not have to worry about that. Like, where I could have perms, I could be an admin, and you know. And I wasn't even looking to start anything crazy. I was going to be happy with like an 8-slot server where I could just take 1 or 2 other people at a time. So what happened was I reached out to all of the friends that I had made at this point, and I knew several leaders of, you know, several clans, of all the big clans, you know, CK, EQ, the Sirs. And I reached out to all of my people, and I was like, yo, I'm getting really frustrated. Like, I keep getting RDM'd, I keep getting admin abused off these different servers, and like, I just want a place to play the game and like show my new people how to play the game. And I was getting really frustrated, and eventually, somebody hit me back up, and they were like, yeah, you know, if you're looking for a server like that and you have good intentions, I'll let you borrow my clan server while we're not using it for events. I'll give you permissions on it, and while we're not using it, you can brand it however you would like and run it with the, you know, run it unequivocally and just not have to answer to anybody. You know, start your own project and we'll just see what happens with it. And so, you know, I had a mission. You know, they gave me a 64-slot server, and I was going to make the most of it. You know, I knew that RDM, cheating, and admin abuse were the 3 pillars in which I believe the game is being killed, straight up. And so I founded the duel yard under the pretenses that none of that would ever be acceptable.
That's really good to hear. That is a high bar, but it's one that we definitely need more of in this community, I think. So, have there been any unexpected challenges that have come along with running the duel yard since you've been here?
Not a whole lot has happened that I really didn't expect, because I've been in the duel yard scene for a long time, as far as just casually, you know, trying to train my noobs and trying to learn myself and stuff. So I had a pretty good idea of like what I was signing up for. And but with that being said, yeah, I absolutely have faced unexpected challenges to some degree, and but for the most part, I mean, it's exactly what you would expect. I've received death threats. I've you know, been called every name in the book. Had outright lies about me and the way that I run the duel yard spread about me, just to try to kill the duel yard because we keep a certain type of people out. And so I mean, that's the part that I really expected, but As far as like the admin abuse thing, I mean, we've done a really good job. We have an in-depth application that you have to fill out, and we vet everybody. You know, if you got dirt on your name, we're gonna find out about it. And so there really hasn't been a whole lot of problems with admin abuse. And anything that did happen, it was, mitigated instantly. But as far as that goes, yeah, I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot of unexpected turns, but yeah, just about what you would expect, the run-of-the-mill, 30-year-old man throwing a tantrum over a video game type stuff.
So nothing too out of the ordinary then. So how would you describe the management style in the Duel Yard? What do you encourage your mods to do? How do you guys handle things a lot of the time when they come up?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, and that's something like as far as like our moderation standards, we're pretty investigative. Like we don't just like take people's word for it, and we don't just go off of the vote kick. Like if there's a vote kick and there's accusations being made in game chat, then we will oftentimes go into spectate and try to witness the situation for ourselves if we didn't see it on our character. And the revenge RDM thing, it's funny because that you mentioned that, because I feel like it's just a natural reaction for people to want to grief the person that griefed them. And I'm the exact same way. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, I don't think I'm better than people because, like, I've set these rules. I know exactly how chaotic a server can get when you have someone like me that will grief somebody until the end of time or until they leave the server, So it's just better for the greater good that revenge RDM is RDM, because like you said, all it takes is that one revenge RDM, and that guy may be totally justified, but then a whole crowd of people sees him do it, and then he's suddenly the bad guy. He then feels like he has to go grief that crowd of people, and all of a sudden it's a riot, and then I have to ban 20 people instead of just one dude. At the end of the day, if you think revenge RDM is not something that you should have been banned for, I understand it, and I'll hear you out. All you got to do is make an appeal. All you got to do is be a grown-up, go to the Discord, and not crash out. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to get back in the server that day. Like, I lead by example, I don't, like, even though, like, inherently that's my initial reaction, I gotta follow the same rules that I've set, and that I expect my admins to enforce. Yeah. I mean, it really does come down to integrity, because at the end of the day, I do have tons of people actively trying to, slander and destroy our Duel Yard and community, and so I try to keep my hands as clean as possible, and I just try to run a tight ship where everybody can have fun. Just come in, don't break the rules, and you don't get banned. And it's just that simple.
To sidetrack a little bit about gameplay, since you do prefer team objective, but you run the Duel Yard, how do you think that being good at one helps the other? How do you think the skills intertwine or interconnect there?
That's a great question, and I mean, there's really, obviously this is all anecdotal, and it's all, purely my own personal experience, but in my opinion, the two don't really translate whatsoever together.
Interesting too.
Yeah, because oftentimes you'll see top duelists that are, they'll run a dueling ring and win 60 fights in a row, cool. But then you see them go to team objective, and it's just not the same case. Maybe it's bad positioning. Maybe it's taking ego duels and not being able to be aware of your surroundings. Like I don't know what the disconnect is, but you don't oftentimes see a lot of top TO players and top duelists who are the top at both. There are exceptions to that. Obviously, you've got people like Llama, you've got people like UFO, but for the most part, in my opinion, the two don't necessarily completely translate. And the way that I look at it in regards to the Duel Yard, I like to go there and tighten up on certain core mechanics, like maybe I noticed that I'm getting hit with a certain type of feint too much, so I got to go in there and work on my reaction time and try to nail like a certain, like maybe I'm getting hit with overhead to stab too much, and I really gotta drill in and like figure out how to start countering these stabs every time and not get hit off, like off guard by them. And so I would go in and like tighten up on like certain core mechanics like that, and then go back to TO, and it's just a whole different ballpark. You're in TO, you're trying to cut the lowest hanging fruit essentially, and you're trying to nail a dude in the back, and and keep it moving to the next one, and you know, you're trying to rack up as many kills as possible and steamroll the enemy. Whereas with duels, you know, you're locked in with one person, you're face to face, and the better man walks away. So, you know, I think they both got their own levels of skill expression, but I don't necessarily think that there is a huge overlap in the two. To answer your question, more directly, yeah. I do think, yeah, probably you do want a healthy balance of the two, and I personally wouldn't recommend, like, unless you just find it fun, you know, play the game however you want. Like, if it's fun to you, then main it. But I think if you're trying to grow as a player, yeah, you should have a healthy balance of the two for sure.
And what better place to do it than in the Unyielding Duel Yard? And the server and Duel Yard have exploded so fast in such a short time. So what do you think has helped the popularity in this short time?
Well, to be frank with you, I mean, the most obvious answer is how bad the servers were that preceded us. You know, nobody was ever happy on any of those servers, and it was always miserable. I was miserable. Everyone was miserable. So it's pretty simple, you know, as far as like the success of the Duel Yard. I took everything that I hated about those other Duel Yards and I made it against the rules for mine, and the rest was history.
Again, love to hear it sticking to your guns. So we all want to know, why now? Why is now the time for the tournament?
I'm restless and ambitious. That's the TLDR. You know, I spend a lot more time online than I would like to admit, and my favorite game in the world is Chivalry 2, and I want to have the most fun that I could possibly have while playing the game and being in an admin role within the game's community space. So yeah, so I was running a Duel Yard. We have a ton of good players that play within our community, and so the two just made sense. You know, there wasn't a lot of tournaments popping, and so I was like, you know what? I got a good Duel Yard. I got a good community. I may as well, you know, capitalize and see if I can do something fun for the community. It was crazy. We went big, and it was go big or go home. You know, because it was my first tournament, and I wanted it to be extremely successful, and we worked collaboratively, got some promotional things going, and yeah, and so we pushed it, and it just blew up like crazy.
Yeah, and it seems the tournament blew up so quickly that we had to do qualifying rounds a week in advance. How many signups were we getting? How bad was the traffic that we had to add a whole other weekend?
Yeah, so so initially, you know, we set the date for August 9th, and that it was just going to be one day. We were going to have qualifiers before the double elim bracket, and we were expecting maybe like 50 signups, maybe 40 actual participants that showed up on game day. We got like 65 signups in the first day, and so, you know, immediately I was like, all right, dude, well, I'm gonna get a little worried here, you know, because that's a lot of people in one day, and not only that, but you can only fit 64 people in our server. So you know, you can only have it, say, 55 participants, because we have 8 referees and me. So yeah, so immediately I was like, man, this might be a problem. So I consulted the people, which, by the way, I too, like we just said, I'm not a sports guy. I knew nothing about any of this going into it. I didn't know the different types of brackets or the different types of tournaments that you can run, any of it. This is all new to me, and this is all stuff that I've learned from people within the community, like Llama, like Ryan, like Botdown. And you know, I worked with them in the DMs and in the Unyielding Discord, and I was like, yo, like, are we going to be able to do this like on one day? And they were all like, absolutely not. So you're going to want to schedule at least one qualifying round. You know, if a bunch of people keep signing up, maybe make it 2. And people did keep signing up, and we got up to about 85 or 90 signups, and so we just made the executive decision, like, all right, you know, since we're already splitting it into 2 weekends, we may as well just run the qualifiers one weekend and then run the top 16 contenders the next weekend. And so that's what we went with.
So you mentioned there's a double elimination bracket. So for anyone not up with sports or how tournaments work or anything like that, how is this structured? What's the template of the tournament? How is this thing going to be running?
Yeah, so for the qualifiers, we are doing what is known as it's called a Swiss bracket. That's where you take the collective pool of participants and you match them randomly against each other through a series of rounds. through these series of rounds, we will be accumulating a score for them based on their wins, losses, and ultimately if they won or lost the whole set. And at the end, that is all calculated, and an elo system is formed, like with chess, and the top 16 players of the elo system advance to the double elim bracket the next weekend. A double elimination bracket, it's a type of competition where your participants, basically it gives the loser a chance to run it back. If you lose, you basically get two chances to lose before you're knocked out completely. If you lose your first set, you get thrown into a losers bracket, and then you go through the losers bracket, and the winner of that gets another shot at the actual bracket.
Awesome. I'm excited to see how everyone does. But speaking of, is there anyone that you think we should be watching? Who do you think's an easy top contender, and who do you think might be an underdog in all this?
So I'm going to speak from the Unyielding community because this is an Unyielding event, and we do have some outsiders that have came over to our community to participate, and thank you everybody who's done that. And but as far as like my people, because as far as like my people like that I know personally that play in my duel yard every day, my top contender is Durag. I got a lot of faith in him, and he's an insane player. And I've seen him do crazy stuff in the duel yard, like outside of the tournament setting. I've seen that dude win a 1v4 before, and he's just overall just a really great player. He placed pretty well, and he moved into the double elim bracket next weekend. I think for the quals that he did yesterday, I think he placed fifth or something like that. But which obviously it's not the top, but it's not the bottom either. And he's fully has the potential to take it if everything lines up in his favor. Notable picks. I hope he wins. I'll say that. But Roger Brown, if you hear this, Roger Brown, shout
For
out to
real,
you.
Roger Brown. I love you. My stream loves you. You're a fighter. You just have nothing but heart, and I love fighting you all the time. You're awesome, bro, and I know you're gonna go the distance.
We freaking love Roger Brown, bro. He's dope, dude. And he's a new Shiv player. Like honestly, like he's only been playing Shiv a couple months, but he fell in love with the dual yard scene and started meeting a lot of people within our community that taught him how to play. And now, bro is out here like he was training in the dual yard like 6 hours yesterday, getting ready for the tournament. And he's getting good fast. Like he's gonna be insane. He might not win this tournament, but he's going to be an absolute monster before we run like two or three more. I guarantee you. So if you don't look out it for him in this tourney, definitely have your eye out for Roger Brown. Like moving forward.
Definitely. Keep an eye on that guy. He's going places. Can't wait to see it, Roger. We believe in you. So now that we're getting our first tournament established, how often do you want to do this? Is this going to be a few times a year? Or is this going to be our new WWE?
Honestly, like I said, it goes back to restlessness and ambition. I love this game and I love our community. I'm obsessed with our community, and so every couple of months, that's probably just not going to do it for me, to be honest. So I'm looking into making this happen, like at least like one huge tournament a month, and then maybe like two to three like smaller, like not money pot type events per month as well, just for fun, the fun of the community, basically.
Awesome. I can't wait to participate in those. So the people really want to know, what is it that finally brought you and Shawnee together on this and got you guys to start working as partners?
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So circling back to what we touched on way earlier, as far as like me first entering the Unyielding and becoming a part of the community, I was never really like shy about the fact that, sometimes I like to be a dick to be funny. It's just the way that it is. It's pixels, and I'm just here to have fun and make people laugh and make myself laugh. And so it took Shawnee a little bit to get used to that, and it took a lot of the community, to be fair, to get used to that. And I kind of was under the impression that that there a lot of the people that might share Shawnee's knee-jerk reactions to certain things that I say, like that's not their genuine reaction, and maybe they're being slightly disingenuous because they're fans of his YouTube and like they want to be his friends and stuff. And I'm not saying that for the entirety of the Unyielding Discord, but it was something that I definitely felt like existed there. And I was never like that with Shawnee. Even after I found out that he was Mr. Chivalry YouTube and everything, I was like, yeah, fuck you, dude. And but I always just talked to Shawnee like he was some regular motherfucker to me, and not you know, like I never idolized him. I never, I base everything on merit and the way that you talk to me and the way you talk to other people. I like Shawnee as a person, and but with that being said, like if I disagreed with him about something, I would let it be known, and I would stand on my convictions. And regardless of how many people would dogpile me that I may or may not think were his Glazers, like I would always stand firm on my position. And through that, Shawnee and I found a level of mutual respect for each other where we can agree to disagree. And that really kind of like fostered like a relationship between me and him that through the advent of the dual yard and the stresses and the benefits that have been brought on by it, obviously we're going to disagree about stuff, and we've disagreed about stuff with the dual yard, but at the end of the day, it's been successful, and he has been a really good co-admin to me about that. And likewise, I would do anything for him. Like even if we disagree about anything, or if we were to get into an argument or something, which we never do, like, we will always, shake hands at the end of it and say, hey, you're my friend. And like really that's what it comes down to. So the dual yard was an insane success, and Shawnee's community was already at 1,000 people before starting the dual yard. After starting it, we have hit 100 new members a week since then, and we are at 1,900 members now, going into 9 weeks later. And so, because of the massive growth of the dual yard, the pre-existing bond and understanding that Shawnee and I had preceding the dual yard, he felt that it just made sense that I took on, a more serious role than just another admin, because at this point, I had effectively doubled the size of the community myself, and he felt like he could give me some degree of trust because I'm always honest with him and I'm always honest with everybody, and through that, he made me co-owner of his community.
Oh, great, man. You guys do a great job of running it together, too. Besides dueling and tournaments, is there any other kind of events on the horizon? Anything upcoming for the Unyielders?
Absolutely. And I am so excited to talk about this part because, like I said before, I am a TO player at heart. I love team objective. I'm a very competitive person, and it is just true to me as an individual to be involved in the competitive space in team objective. And it makes me so happy that I finally have a platform to where I could build a clan. And shout out to Shawnee, man. If it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for the Unyielding already existing, I would have never had an avenue to do it in the way that I have done it. And but yeah, Shawnee, he wants everything to remain casual, and I respect his take on it because with competition and competitive mindsets does inherently come a higher degree of being at risk of being exposed to toxicity and like toxic people. And Shawnee doesn't want that in the Unyielding Discord. I also don't necessarily want that mindset in the Unyielding Discord, and it's a valid complaint on his part to be worried about it. So but with that being said, through the dual yard, I've showed him that as long as we just stay on our toes and just moderate the vibe and make sure that no bad actors come into the community, that ultimately everything will be fine. And so he trusted me to start a competitive clan, and that's where Dominion was created. And I'm super excited because I feel like through this we're going to be able to offer the community even more than we would than through the dual yard, mainly through like team objective events like you were mentioning. We're going to be hosting twice weekly open scrims of Dominion versus the world, like where we're going to Wednesday and Saturday night at around 5 p.m. Central. We're going to fill a lobby with as many people as we can and hopefully fill an entire side, and then just let everybody else fill the other side. And so it's like you'll always have like a high level TO lobby at least twice a week, guaranteed, outside of your regular standalones that everybody's used to. And then Shawnee and the crowd, they already had their own team objective events going. But I imagine that with the advent of Dominion, that we will be able to incorporate our own type of leagues or something to that degree in the future. Um, I do like participating in other people's events and stuff, but ultimately, like it does kind of make sense for us to try to host our own one day. You know, like we have the audience for it, we have the manpower behind the scenes to make it happen, and like I said, I've got weaponized insomnia, and I'm just ready to make it happen, honestly. So, we are hosting twice weekly open scrims at a bare minimum. We might also make it like a free for all server. You pull up, get wrecked by a bunch of Dominion, or come in there and wreck a bunch of Dominion. But we will be figuring out a more robust way to enhance the team objective experience for the Unyielding community for sure.
And I am so excited for that as well. And it looks like for the tournament, we got a sponsor from one of the upcoming medieval slashers. How do we get fiefdom involved?
Yeah, so I know some people over at the clan called Equilibrium, and they were working with fiefdom that I saw, and so I reached out to one of the EQ members, and I was like, "Yo, like, how'd y'all get on with fiefdom?" And I was like, "Can you introduce me to whoever your guy is?" And he said, "Yeah." So he gave me a name to message. That name was Malicious. I messaged Malicious. Dude is a stand-up guy, totally cool, and we immediately hit it off, and he got me well versed on like what fiefdom is, like what the developers, like who they are as people and as developers, and like what they want out of the game and their values as gamers and not just developers. And he really sold me on the idea that they kind of want to find a middle ground between like Mordhau and Shiv 2, and like have a good competitive skill ceiling, but also be accessible to new players and casuals, and that's right in line with Chivalry 2. That's right in line with the mission statement of my dual yard. That's right in line with the mission statement of the Unyielding as a whole. So I mean, I think it was a mutual feeling between Malicious and the Unyielding that yeah, we had to make this sponsorship happen. And so he didn't even hesitate. He was like, "Yeah, let's get it going. Let me know about the tournament. Let me know the details, and then I'll let you know my details." And we made it happen. Shout out to Malicious Gaming. That's his company, Malicious, and White Tower Games. The developers of fiefdom. Like, obviously, this is a non-sponsored interview, but I believe in what they're doing. I believe in their vision, and I really hope their game succeeds, man. Honestly, that's really one of the things that makes me want fiefdom to succeed so much. I genuinely believe that if it has a good launch and it does become successful financially, that it could, be the spiritual successor of Chivalry 2. We don't know what Torn Banner's intentions are, if Shiv 3 is ever going to happen. All we know is that they abandoned Shiv 2, and the market space needs another slasher. So, I'm the type of person that, if you mistreat me once, like, I'm gonna be a little bit weary and think that you might mistreat me again, and that's the exact sentiment that I have towards Torn Banner. And so we got some new guys on the block. They're developing their game, and it's in its infancy still, but it's worth checking out, and hopefully big things happen with it, because it could be everything that Chivalry 2 is, and then some.
Oh, yeah, and I'm super excited for it too, but that brings us really nicely to the end for our last question here. The dual yard and server are exploding so fast and all at once, but Chivalry is kind of old and isn't getting really any more support. So, what are the plans for the future of the server as things progress?
Yeah, of course, that's a great question, because Shawnee and I have talked, and the one of the inevitable realities of Chivalry 2 and the game that we all love is that it may not exist one day, and but we're all here for the mutual love for the slasher genre and the vibes that Chivalry brings. So ultimately, we would like to pivot our community from being like one of the biggest Chivalry communities to being just a overall kind of like an umbrella melee slasher community. And our relationship with fiefdom, our new relationship with fiefdom, it really kind of helped make that a tangible reality, because we're able to, since we're starting so early with our relationship with them, we're going to be able to transplant a lot of our community into their game just for free through the sponsorship deals, and maybe get people to buy it through their Kickstarter and stuff like that. And so the transition might not even be too jarring or forced to begin with. We're already actively planting the seeds of other melee slashers within the community because they're coming out, and you may as well not just hide behind the idea that Chivalry is our favorite game and it's going to be around forever, because it's likely not going to be. So, I love my community, I love all my friends, and we all love slashers, so it just makes sense that we, prioritize melee slashers versus Chivalry, if that makes any sense.
Makes a ton of sense to me, and I am so excited to see where this takes us. Thank you so much to Shy and Shawnee Salami for collaborating with me on this, and be sure to check out my comment below for links to the Unyielding, and links to where you can see the tournament, whether you're watching this before or after it happened, as well as Shawnee Salami's Player Spotlight with Shy, made to pair with this video. All linked in my comment below. I've got a few more Chivalry videos on screen now if you want to see more. We'll see you in the Duel Yard. Until then, I've been Smiles, and the kitchen is closed.